Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Meckles. Tonight, a busy intersection in downtown Denver is still shut down hours after Denver police officers shot and killed a woman they say came toward officers with a knife. This started around 11:45 this morning at the intersection of Broadway and Lawrence near the Samaritan House downtown. Police said they got calls about a woman in the road with a knife. That is where we find 9 News reporter Rachel Krause tonight. Rachel, that intersection still blocked off. It's been hours since this all started.
Yeah, Jenny, Denver police still having this intersection taped off here as they continue to gather evidence and check out the scene here hours after they were first called out for a shooting by 3 Denver police officers that left 1 woman dead here earlier today. Now, here's what we know. Denver police were first called out by a passerby and a Denver park ranger of a person in the intersection of Broadway and Lawrence with a knife. Minutes later, officers arrived. The woman's still out in the road carrying what they call a large hunting-style knife. Police say they ordered her to drop the knife, but she advanced toward officers. Officers struck her with a taser twice, but it didn't stop her.
Even after those 2 taser deployments, which again appear to strike the suspect but not have the desired effect, she actually began to hasten her advance toward the officers, and that's where the officers made the decision to transition to their handguns and fire.
Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas says 3 officers fired their weapons. It's unclear how many shots were fired. They called for an ambulance and offered care, but the woman soon after died. Police tell us the woman who was killed was an adult. Her housing status wasn't immediately clear. Once the police investigation wraps up, it'll then be up to the Denver DA's office to review the case to see if the officer's use of force today was justified. Now, police say they plan on keeping this intersection here at Lawrence and Broadway blocked off here for the next few hours as they continue with their investigation into that shooting. Reporting live in Denver, Rachel Krause, 9 News.
Rachel, thank you. 2 people are in the hospital tonight after a plane crashed right off I-25 this morning, right next to the Larkspur exit. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office says the plane hit a highway sign before it landed in a nearby field. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch was in Larkspur today. She shows us a look at the response.
A scary morning for drivers going north on I-25 near Larkspur today. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office believes a plane was flying so low it hit a highway sign before coming to rest in a field just east of the interstate. The plane crash drew in multiple Douglas County and state agencies. The Sheriff's Office says early investigations show the plane hit a sign on I-25, causing it to crash east of the interstate.
Now the question is for investigators, what was the pilot doing that low that they clipped a road sign? Was the pilot trying to make an emergency landing and just incidentally hit the sign? Or were they actually doing something that they weren't supposed to be illegally, flying over the highway and struck that sign?
DCSO says the FAA and NTSB will determine the official cause of the crash. The FAA says 2 people were on board the twin-engine aircraft. DCSO says both are in the hospital with unknown injuries. CDOT and CSP closed several lanes of I-25 north and directed traffic through the single express lane. More lanes opened around 1 p.m. The FAA and NTSB are taking over the investigation, with the NTSB taking the lead. In Larkspur, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Janelle, thank you. It has been just a little more than 2 weeks since a small plane crashed in someone's yard in Arvada. That plane left the Centennial Airport, was headed for the airport in Broomfield when it made an emergency landing and landed in front of someone's house. There were 4 people in that plane. 1 of them died. And with 2 crashes in and around public places lately, we asked our aviation expert about what the public needs to be concerned about here with their safety too.
Pilots are trained to handle emergencies. And while some pilots, and in some cases, these pilots may be criticized for some of the actions or decisions they made, the fact is that no one on the ground was injured at all in either of these accidents.
The NTSB is still looking into that Arvada crash as well. There was a weird situation out of Denver and Aurora today. A child is in critical condition tonight after a car crash that followed a police pursuit this morning. But police say this all started when the driver of that car first flagged responders for help. But when help arrived, police say that driver took off. 9 News reporter Brianna Clark walks us through what police say happened next.
A busted back window, deflated airbags, and a bullet hole. Denver police say 7 people were inside this SUV when it crashed around 4 o'clock Sunday morning blocking a portion of Pecos and this on-ramp to Highway 36. Officers say it started when the driver of the SUV flagged down paramedics. But when they stopped to help, the SUV sped off. Paramedics told police the driver's side window looked like it had been shot at. DPD then spotted the SUV near 45th and Havana. When they tried to pull it over, the driver took off again, and officers followed. That chase ended here in Adams County after this police cruiser smashed into the SUV, forcing it to stop. DPD says the driver got out and ran. He later showed up at a hospital where he told police there was a fight earlier that night in Aurora and someone shot at his car. Police say a woman in the car was injured in that fight. They also say a child was seriously injured during the crash. They were not buckled in. In Adams County, Brianna Clark, 9 News.
So a total of 6 people went to the hospital after that crash. The driver showed up on his own later. A child was seriously hurt when the car crashed. It's unclear how old that child is. And one woman had an arm injury from that early morning assault before the chase. The U.S. Forest Service responded to a wildfire in Douglas County today. This was in the Pike and San Isabel National Forests. Officials say it was caused by lightning. Started around 9:30 this morning, 14 miles northeast of Castle Rock. It's not a big fire, about 3 acres in size tonight. No buildings have been threatened at this point. The Interlochen fire burning in Lake County is now 45% contained by the end of this weekend. Firefighters made a lot of progress yesterday, and they have lifted their pre-evacuation notices. The fire's burned almost 600 acres so far. Crews were back out today trying to work on containment. Let's now bring in Lauren Robinson. I know we were concerned about hot, dry, windy conditions today.
That's right, and we did see all of those things this afternoon. We're going to see them again tomorrow. Now, we're still warming for the day. So far, we've reached 90 degrees at DIA. I think we still get a few degrees warmer. Most of the Front Range and Eastern Plains has seen 90s. We maxed out in the 80s so far up north, but we did see some triple digits to the south. 101 right now in Pueblo, 104 down in Lamar. The high country saw those 70s and 80s, and then we had more in middle 90s across the western slope. So far, we've made it to 90 degrees. Again, I think we get a little bit warmer, but let's take a look at our record for this day. 100 degrees was set on this day just a couple years ago in 2021. And then our precipitation not looking great either. We do need some more moisture, and I think we're going to see that toward the end of the week with several chances for showers and storms. With the heat, we do still have advisories in effect for the next couple of hours until 7 o'clock, and that does include areas south of Denver, roughly Castle Rock down the I-25 corridor to Colorado City, and then other areas of the central and southern plains. We're going to continue to watch for dangerous heat as we go through the rest of this afternoon and continue to warm even more. With that heat, we've also seen dry air and gusty winds. So most of the state is under a red flag warning today and tomorrow. That's all of this hot pink fuchsia area. And then Denver is included in a fire weather watch that'll go into effect tomorrow for our Monday all the way up north through Fort Collins. And that includes central and northern portions of the eastern plains. So coming up in my full 7-day forecast, we're going to talk about that hot day ahead for tomorrow. We're also going to talk more about the increased fire danger and then several chances for storms going through the week. I'll have all of that information for you just ahead.
Lauren, thank you. CPW says they have found the body of a swimmer who went missing last night in Pueblo. Park rangers say they got a call around 8 o'clock last night about a missing swimmer off the shore of Lake Pueblo State Park. Divers searched for hours. They finally found his body about 75 feet from shore. CPW says this is now the 19th water-related death in our state so far this year. Still early. They call this a sad example of the importance of wearing life jackets. Police in Commerce City say a man shot and killed an intruder who attacked him inside his home. Happened around 2:45 this morning on East 64th Avenue near Glencoe. Police have not shared very many details at this point. They say the homeowner was seriously hurt but should survive. Not clear exactly how he got hurt. Officers are still looking into what exactly happened. On Tuesday, the person that prosecutors say killed 5 people at Club Q back in November of 2022 will be sentenced to life in prison. They are expected to plead guilty to hate crime charges and firearm violations to avoid the death penalty. Federal prosecutors say the shooting was a premeditated attack. Court documents say the shooter, who has since the arrest been identified as non-binary, shared anti-transgender views online. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the shooter used anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and expressed an interest in mass shootings. Shooter was fired from their job just weeks before the shooting, and prosecutors say their supervisor, who identifies as gay, received emails containing anti-gay slurs. At Tuesday's sentencing, survivors will have an opportunity to speak if they so choose. On Wednesday, our next team will sit down with district attorney candidates John Walsh and Leora Joseph for here in Denver. The first time since 2017 that the Denver job of being the top prosecutor is officially open. This race will be decided in the Democratic primary on June 25th. Our Kelly Rinke looks at the candidates and their priorities.
Fighting crime is the job description. Right now, 2 candidates are fighting to win one case, convincing voters to select them as Denver's next district attorney.
We can't ignore crime anymore, and we need to find meaningful consequences to get rid of recidivism.
Over the last 5 or so years, watching the city struggle with some basic issues of community safety has been nothing short of heartbreaking.
Leora Joseph and John Walsh bring different backgrounds. Joseph worked as a local prosecutor and right now runs the state's behavioral health office. Walsh is a former U.S. attorney for Colorado and has the endorsement from the current DA, Beth McCann.
I think DA McCann is looking to preserve her legacy, and I think I'm running on big change.
Yes, I anticipate I'm going to make some significant changes in approach, but I'm not going to promise I'm making a particular change until I really get in there, pop open the hood.
Walsh emphasized tackling youth violence and collaborating with community to make downtown safer.
On bringing a combined government approach and community approach to making our central business district, our downtown, feel safe and be safe.
Joseph said she wants to prioritize crime victims, cases of gun violence, and people living with severe mental health challenges.
And so I plan to use the tools I have to really change how we move people into treatment.
Officers work closely with the DA's office. They hand off investigations to them for prosecution. The police union is backing Joseph.
I've also held police officers accountable. So I've been able to do both, and I plan to continue to do both.
In some ways, not having the police union support is that independence and neutrality that'll make it easier for me to do the job.
That was Kelly Rinke reporting. Now, the current Denver DA, who is endorsing Walsh, is actually Joseph's old boss. She worked in that office for only a couple months, and DA Beth McCann says the departure was mutual. Walsh ran for Denver DA 20 years ago and lost that race.